Boom. Okay, sorry. The millisecond I started streaming, my microphone went out, so that was kind of funny. Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff. Let me know if you can see and hear me okay, and if the music in the background is at all too loud for you. I would super appreciate it. Can you hear me? Okay. That was a weird way to start. I did my sound check beforehand, and everything was fine, but the second I touched the go button, of course, everything falls apart. So, rather than start with the normal, like, facing me camera, I thought we would just jump right into the painting. So, on the desk right now, I have pulled back out my last 4 remaining Pusgoyle Blight Kings in honor of the Everchosen, or the Wrath of the Everchosen campaign book coming out that supports them in a very cool and unique way. And I'm just chatting. If you have anything to say or add, whatever, I'm going to turn that down just a smidge for you there, Mr. Kurvoshi. Thank you for the feedback. Some songs are a little bit louder than others. It's kind of annoying. So yeah, I'm going to finish up with these guys. And this will give me my solid, what is that? There'll be 8 total. 8 total plus a Lord of Affliction. So I am very excited about this. So I actually, immediately after getting home from work today, a coworker was like, hey, your Games Workshop package arrived. And I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So it's there. I'm just gonna grab it tomorrow. Trying to drive back to work with where I work and kind of the way the traffic flows is just murder. So that's okay. Let me see. I need Balthazar Gold. Trying to look. I can't quite recall where I left off on some of these, so I know I need to see the metals need to be done. And start shading on. Oh, I got the blue armor. Okay, so I just need to go back and do the shading on all the cloth. Okay, so let's grab Agrax so we can get that drying so there's no downtime. I'll go ahead and I'll follow the chat here. Let me pull it up. I like to have it on my phone next to me because it's so much easier to see than turning to the right to look at the desktop screen. Come on. All right. Okay, here we go. So, chat's pulled up now. And let's see. We got Dice Chatter, Chaos Lord Craig. Hey, everybody. First stream I've caught. Thanks for all the lore videos. Oh, thank you. It's very kind of you to say. I enjoy making them. This week's kind of a funny one. I was waiting with great anticipation for the Wrath of the Everchosen. And I had some other lore videos kind of in the can, so to speak, like ready to be shown one week. And I was like, well, why don't I just put those out? And then, so for example, like tomorrow the book's coming in, so the rest of this week I'll be reading that and working on videos for next week. But I figured, let's get some content out there, and so that's why I put out my, I have a Necromunda video yesterday. And tomorrow morning is going to be my first foray into Infinity lore. If you've never played Infinity by Corvus Belli, it's a pretty cool game. I like it quite a bit. It and Necromunda, I think, they kind of like scratch the same itch, but in very different ways. And I like them. I like them both for different reasons. They feel different. That's cool. I like when games can feel different, but like you still get that feeling out of it. So. Let's see. Torrentino. So Wrath of the Everchosen now gives Nurgle some sub-factions. Is that correct? I know they get a new battalion, but actual cost-free subs. Yes, that is correct, and it is my understanding. Like I said, I don't have the actual book yet, but I haven't watched anyone else's, I think, I don't remember seeing it pop up on my alerts, but usually Ash from Gorilla Miniature Gaming does reads the book. So if you want more information, I'll go check that out. I typically don't because I like to have it in my hands and read it and experience it for myself. Part of the production is all the art and that kind of stuff. So if you just want to know about that, head over to his channel. He does a good job with that. It's a service. It's a thankless job. As far as, but to answer your question very briefly, yes, it does offer Nurgle sub-factions. And they're just really based on the ones that are already in the Battle Tome like lore. So you have the Blessed Sons, which used to be a mega battalion. Now it seems like it's a sub-faction. What else is there? The Drowned Ones, which is Gutrot's Booms. So yeah, there's some cool stuff in there. Blitzkrieg, are these guys nautical themed at all? Honestly, no. No, they're not. I kind of stopped doing some of the conversions in green stuff because I reached a point where, for me, my motivation to paint, it really is tied to actually doing the things that I like in the hobby, which is hanging out with people and chatting. And so, like, they're painted that way. The bases match. Like, I did do the same thing I did on all the bases. Like, this is nasty looking seaweed, and there's cool, like, wood planks and that kind of stuff that I green stuff rolled. But no, I didn't do any conversions on the dudes themselves because I was just like, you know what? I want this done so I can start enjoying it the way that I kind of envisioned enjoying it. And I'm okay with that decision. So, but I mean, when you figure I did quite a bit of work on the other 15 Blight Kings that are up there and some of the other Pusgoyle Blight Lords. So, like, I'm going to basically mix in the modified ones with the the standard ones, and it'll be fine. It'll look great. But I've stopped calling them Pirate Nurgle. Now they're just Nurgle. And that's totally cool. I'm actually happy with that. I honestly, like, I think in the future, I would either make a goal to have every model be customized in some way, or do the full custom bases, but not both, because it was just exhausting. Like, you can't even start putting paint on a model until all the green stuff's done and all that kind of thing. And so it got to be a real pain. So once I cranked out the last round of bases, I was like, I just want to play. Like, I just want to have fun. I'm kind of done with the whole building process, that thing. So yeah. Let's see, just reading here. Hey Doug, wanted to update you on that Lord Ordinaire I painted for the comp, won 3rd place. Oh, that's right, I forgot about that. That's awesome, man. Good for you. Everyone, golf clap, golf clap. I remember you talking about that in the chat. Let's see. TG Disciple, hello. Torrentino, Doug, are you running the Nurgle Mortal Subfaction, Blessed Sons, or the Demon one? The one that I am most interested in, just thematically, is the Drowned Men, I think is what it is. It's not the Drowned Ones. It's one of those two. Like, ones are men, I don't remember what it is. But, where it's the Gutrot's Boom one, they are piratey, and, they buff Pusgoyle Blight Lords, these guys, where every wound roll of a 6 unmodified is a mortal wound, I believe. I believe that's what it is. Like I said, I get the book tomorrow. We'll dive into it in detail. We'll sit and we'll hang out, and I want to chat about what it means for Nurgle once I actually have it. But that's the one, because I play what I like. And if you didn't see the GW article about the Wrath of the Everchosen and the sub-factions that it brings, they kind of came up with these like fun theme, I don't want to call them themed lists, that's not quite right, but I can't think of another way to articulate it. But they basically built a list that leans into the strengths and abilities of each of what the sub-factions is trying to represent. So like Blessed Sons was lots of dudes, it was a dude fest, just like, Pusgoyle, Blight Kings, whatever they are, for miles. And then the one they did for the Drowned Men was the thing they call like an air assault force or something like that. And I was like, that sounds awesome. So that's what I'm going to be doing, because you just don't see a lot of these guys. And so I want to change that. I want to show off some awesome Pusgoyle Blight Lord action. Let's see. Torrentino, given the Wormspat Warband coming out this weekend and the Wrath of the Everchosen expansion, seems like Nurgle may be getting a tome update this year. Maybe. I'm not convinced that it is. And the reason I say that is because I wonder how much they looked at the Psychic Awakening progress they made, where it's like, hey, we can release these things and people will love it. That adds story and campaign stuff, but also like is a way to retroactively give a boost to some of those older armies. And I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if that's what they're thinking. I'm assuming that somewhere down the production pipeline that occurred to them. And so if that's the case, then they might, just look at some of the books that are kind of, maybe not falling behind performance-wise, because I don't think GW really looks at like tournament results and that kind of stuff in the same way. But just looks at books that are less popular and is just like, let's throw them a bone, right? Like I wouldn't be surprised if there was one that was like, hey, here's Fire Slayers with some actually cool battalion options. Because I feel like that book, when they tried it the second time, there was no reason there wasn't more cool battalions. Give me those, give me all that stuff. I don't know. So I don't know. It depends on, because they have factions that are in Psychic Awakening that they haven't even shown the slightest hint of doing new codexes for over in 40k. So if they're hard to pin down, they're pulling a sneaky on us. Tabhama, hello. Just finished Catacross, now on Be'lakor, working on his base and doing work. That's funny. Finally getting to paint my Venom for the Marvel game. Had to finish 108 model painting commission. Oh god, that sounds miserable. I couldn't. Like, the reason that these guys were stuck in a box for the last 2 weeks is because I kept hitting a wall. I mean, what I've noticed about myself, this is actually it's been a realization probably in the last month or two. It's really recent, month or two, where instead of pushing myself to finish something, it's just put it away and come back to it. Because this is now the third time that I've busted out the Nurgle. I've done it in increments, sections. Where I reach a point where it's I don't want to paint any more of this thing, or I'm tired of getting stuck in the weeds on the details of these guys, so I just put it off in a little tote, throw it in the closet, and then I come back around to it. And it's actually helped immensely. I haven't wanted to, I got rid of the Iron Jaws to Jack again. But that, honestly, it's because of the space thing. It's just a matter of space. I bought the Nighthaunt from that guy to help him out, as I mentioned in my Hobby Haul video. And so, I don't know. I kind of have a 2-army max space just because I also have all these stinking skirmish games that I'm in for $1 on. So, yeah. Let's see. Chaos Lord Craig, can we chat about Slaanesh 2? I hate waiting to see what's in this book. I'm so excited. If I get it tomorrow, we can. I don't have it with me. Just got down out of work. Gonna start my passion project, Carnifex. Sweet. Hey, Hugh. Let's see. Do you miss the Rumgate style books, or do you wish that all books going forward were campaign-wise will resemble this? Like I said, don't have it, don't know what this is in terms of Wrath of the Everchosen, but I do miss I do honestly miss the campaign books. Because I remember, when at the very end of one of them, they showed Torglug being reforged into Tornus, and it was just this epic story moment, and I don't know. I understand why they may not do it again because the sales weren't what they wanted. At the same time, it was dumb to release a campaign series of that magnitude when AOS was at its most hated, because fantasy had just gone away. So, I don't know. I would love to see it again, to be honest with you. They hadn't built up the fan support and love, I think, to support a series like that long term. So the books just kind of sat around, I think, in their inventory for quite a long while. And then I know that looks bad, but it's like, man, you couldn't have picked a worse time. But, I mean, those are also old management decisions. It be what it be. Forgot this guy's shoulder thing. Let's see. How often do you switch armies? Look at your backlog. You kind of cycled at least one from each of the orders. Yeah. I switch armies like I breathe. I'm trying not to. I haven't actually played a full game of AOS in actually quite some time. It's been a bit. Since I bought Nurgle, I have never felt the urge to sell them. I don't think. Let me review that in my head for a split second. I can't recall ever wanting to anyway, at least off the top of my head, and I'm usually pretty honest about that stuff. I got kind of swept up in the Ironjawz for a hot second because I had them on hand and their book dropped, and it was such a fun book. And I was like, I don't know. They weren't what I wanted to do painting-wise or narrative-wise, and so I went back to these boys. But honestly, I do attribute constant army switching to why I'm not as good player-wise in this game. Like, I think I'm a good player. Like, I understand the game of AOS very well, but I switch armies so often that I don't learn like the nuances of each faction that I play. And so that's why when I picked up the Maggotkin, I was like, okay, we need an army that we can just we can chill with for a bit. And I love my my Glotkin so much, I never got rid of him or traded him. So I was like, that's it. We're just going to focus on the model that seems to have endured the longest in my collection. Give me just a hot second. I'll hop back to the chat. It's got to get these little tiny details. I got one more chest plate I got to paint. Okay. The nice thing about painting a couple identical models is that if you miss a detail on one, when you see it on the next one, you're like, oh yeah, and you go back and remember it, versus like when I'm at the game store taking everything out of the boxes and I see a mistake. I thought Psychic Awakening was just a way to release more Marine content. No, not at all. Psychic Awakening has stuff for... So it's a series that are non-necessarily connected books. It's like a, I don't know, galaxy spanning event type thing. And like the next book coming out has nothing to do with Marines. It's Genestealer, Cults, Imperial Guard, and I think something else, Tau. It started with Space Marines, because GW product. But beyond that, no. And that's what's cool about it, It just like Wrath of the Everchosen, it doesn't... It seems to have more in it for Nurgle than just about most folks. But, no, it's not exclusive or anything like that. Not a spoil, but I'm pretty sure the Drowned Man Battalion is for Spoom and the Blight Kings. He deep strikes with it. I don't think it's for him and Pusco Putrid Blight Kings. Yeah, Torrentino, I think it's been spoiled. It's not that. The Bobcat Lover. Love it. Love your vids. Wish I could stick around, but it's nearly 2 a.m. Oh my gosh, go to bed. Catch me on Fridays. I try to do a live stream more during the day on Fridays to catch folks over in Europe. Try Baby Hi Doug working on Alpha Legion while watching. Awesome. That's actually my Chaos Army, which I also had to take a break on because I got so tired of painting all of the trim on the armor. I was like, oh no, I can't. I needed a break. But again, that's part of my learning process this last month of like, normally I would get tired of painting something, my enthusiasm would dwindle, and I'd be like, bail out and then trade it and get something else I'm excited to paint. But I think I started learning it around a couple months ago when I was doing a lot of the Underworlds warbands. I was like, man, just grabbing this like small set of like, between 5 and 3 dudes to do a warband in Underworlds. Like, oh, it felt good. It felt good to just have like a palette cleanser. Jack, I thought you were going to sell them to fund your Adepticon trip. The Nurgle? Was I? I don't know. I look at every army. Well, I might do that with the Nighthaunt. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how it pans out. If anyone wants the most glorious Nighthaunt in the world, let me know. We can work something out. But, nah... There might have been a minute there. Actually, no, I take that back. I think you're right. I think there might have been a minute there where I was like, I don't know if I want to do them because I was really happy with the Ironjawz book. And then, but I don't have any excitement for painting those orcs is the problem. So I think that faded away once I kind of got the I hate painting orcs out of my system by returning to painting Plus-Go Blightlords. I think that's what it was. I've seen people paint the wings bright silver, like the Stormhost silver, and then contrast over them. For these guys, I did something similar. No, I guess it wasn't that similar. I did contrast paint first, and then did the hashtag not color shift paint. Turbo shift, I think is what it's technically called, by Turbo Dork. So yeah. Let's see. Seth, hello. Let's see. Underworld bands currently 3 minimum, maximum 9. Okay, yeah, that's a good range. Trying to sell my... I'm just kind of breezing through because I'm kind of falling behind the chat. I'm trying to sell my Wormhordes, but the secondary market is horrible and can't flip it for pennies on the dollar. Yeah, actually... So I actually bought recently a War Machine army, the Protectorate of Menoth, because, Privateer Press is right here. I was like, oh, I might start exploring this game. And it is in a much better place than it was a couple months ago when I tried to dip my toe in. So, I kind of got excited. I was like, oh, okay, we can check this out now. And things are good. It's just, yeah, I mean, I got that for pennies on the dollar. I maybe bought just over $2,000 of stuff for like $150. So it's nuts. I mean, and that wasn't me lowballing him. That was what he was asking for it. So I was like, okay. Because I don't lowball folks. I might offer you a super low price and be like, I'm going to strip it anyway. It's a lot of work. Meet me in the middle type thing. But, he wanted those gone. Let's see. A piece of chaos video got me into Beast Gas, trying me to Nurgle now. That's funny. I never try to get anybody into anything. I don't I don't, what is the word? Proselytize armies, you know? Tell people they should play this or that. But I'm told that my enthusiasm is infectious, which is, I'm assuming, a blessing. Well, it's a blessing to me, but it's a curse to everybody else, apparently. Let's see. Hey Doug, new to Warhammer. Your lore videos help me a ton. What's some advice for someone who's just starting out? Man, best advice. If you're talking about playing the game, which I assume you are, best advice I can give you is be a graceful loser. And the second you lose, shake their hand and say, how could I have won that one? And just kind of learn the game that way. You know what I mean? Get some games in with people who are willing to take the time to be like, well, you know, you did this and it kind of left me open to that, or, you know, my army just does blank, and then you just know something more about your local group. I think that's honestly the best advice. A lot of it, you know, as someone who switches armies a lot, I kind of play like a newbie quite a bit, like an inordinate amount, because I'm always swapping stuff. I forget rules and that kind of thing. I have a video, I guess it's technically a series now, called Mastering Army Quickly, where if you go to a website, AOS Reminders, and type your army in, they'll give you all of the reminders for all of the spell effects and that kind of thing in your army. That's awesome. It's super helpful. Keeps you moving faster. And that's a huge one. I'm trying to think of another big one. Would be for me, I was going to bring up, because I switch armies so much, the biggest thing is if you get really good at model placement, like in terms of having a unit on an objective when it needs to be, that kind of stuff, like literally knowing where models need to be, you will do exceptional. Because like when I started really the channel and that kind of stuff, I was playing a lot of Slaves to Darkness, and I played them a lot in late first edition, early second, with my Slaves to Darkness army that everyone knows about on this channel. And like, they don't have any special gimmicks, but I could still win games because I was just good at, like, okay, I need to be there. You know what I mean? Like, I need to be at this specific location by turn 3 to capture objectives. And if you just play the objective game and really learn the missions, you'll do quite well. Let's see. Omniphage, Doug, Wormspat look good for Nurgle, the Beastgrave ones. Yeah, I actually just saw their War Scroll for the first time today when I was chilling out on my lunch break. They do seem cool. I will certainly use the models. That's actually what I'm most excited for. The thing about the actual unit itself, though, is that it has the Blessed Sons keyword. It gets hardwired into a specific sub-faction. And that's fine. I mean, I guess if I'm taking the Drowned Men for a focus on Pusgoyle Blightlords, it really shouldn't matter that she's on foot. It shouldn't, but yeah. So that's the only thing. That's the only thing that kind of holds me back. But even then, I'm still gonna grab her and then use her as. What size base is the Nurgle Wizard on? I don't mean like. I mean like the generic Nurgle Wizard. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I would love it if they were similar size bases, because I don't own that model, and I would love to have her fill that role. Would Nurgle hate or love the Pimple Popper? Oh, he'd love him, because it would hate the sterile environment that the Pimple Popper works in, but like pustules bursting is, these guys, like, everybody has a rule called virulent discharge. What do you think a virulent discharge is, man? Pimples popping left and right, popping like a party, yo. Typing the contrast painting method for my trying it for my Alpha Legion. Super simple, very quick. Yeah, it's real nice. Let me grab. Doug, does Sloppity Bilepiper lead your ranks into battle? No. I haven't done much with demons. I have, 30 Plague Bearers just to fill stuff out and, like, summon. But when I started the project, I really wanted to focus more on the mortal aspect. And that's kind of what I've stuck to for the most part. So I have some options for summoning, but honestly, it's limited to, like, just grab an objective. That kind of thing. Which I'm okay with. I think eventually, like, the idea was, you know, if I ever wanted to expand, all the Chaos armies are awesome because you can start with mortal or demon and then blend them kind of thing. If you just want to do something that's kind of cool and thematic. So I just decided to start with Nurgle mortal stuff because it was not super long after they got their killer start collecting box, which if you want to do mortal Nurgle, like the Maggotkin starter box is just sweet. Rotbringer Sorcerer, he's on a 32 mil. Ah, bummer. Because I'm pretty sure she's going to be on a bigger one. Because she's got like 8 wounds. She's built like a Blight King herself. But I might stick around at 32 for that exact reason. I don't know. Love the model. Let's see. Doug, so when you took a little painting break from Nurgle, is that when you got sick? It was part of it. Actually, it happened at the same time, where I was painting them, and I was like, I'm getting kind of burned out. And then I got sick. And then it became like, actually, I can't sit at the desk and paint kind of thing, because I was hacking and sneezing and coughing and everything. And the light was bugging my eyes because they were so sensitive and that kind of thing. So there was that, which was a real bummer. But even then when I was trying to get back into painting afterwards, I was like, I don't want to paint these guys. So it was kind of both. Jack's in the chat bragging about all of the horsey models he owns. Hashtag horse meta. Let's see. This is what I like. I like trying weird stuff, so let's do this. We're gonna do, mainly because I just want to see how it works. I want to get these little pots. These guys have like, I'll throw it here in the center so you can see. Right here, there's like these little cauldrons on their back. And I want to make something look gross. Now for the other ones, I did like a green and then gave it like a red wash. Just to make it look kind of gross and that kind of stuff. So now I'm going to do yellow with a green wash, trying to make it look all snotty in there. And then we'll mix and match them across the army. Let's see how that pans out. That's what I like about Nurgle is like you can just do these weird colors that, you know, if it doesn't look right, make it look messier, and then all of a sudden it'll just kind of work. Way down my list of stuff is making some Marauder Horseman style pistoliers. Oh, that'd be cool. Winnie the Pooh's honey gone wrong, exactly. Winnie the Cthulhu Pooh. We got tentacles sticking out of this thing. All right. And so, yeah. Yeah, that's what I've been working on. Pretty excited about it. Trying to get all the basic colors blocked off of these guys. I'm almost done. Really just have the dead heads hanging from the back. And what else? The shrooms on these dudes' shoulders, his headpiece, and the teeth and stuck inside his gullet. Okay. We got this. I like the idea of Free Guild, but not the old Empire models. Yeah, it's a pretty common thing. It's just not because they don't look okay. It's just the models are showing their age, kind of thing. If you are a Nurgle player and you want instant talent in a pot, I strongly recommend Magos Purple, the contrast paint, because, as I'm doing right now, when you put it over flesh, it makes it look like that kind of red bruised flesh. Like it looks very like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not agitated. Can't think of the word right now, but yeah, kind of inflamed. There we go. Where everything kind of like gets kind of this weird, nasty, gross-looking hue, and oh, I love it. Looks awesome on scars. Inflamed. Yep. No wet palette. No. I tried it for a while. I have it right next to me, and you know, I just don't like it. I'll be honest with you. I just don't like it. That's all I got. That's all I got. Which purple? It is Magos Purple Contrast Paint. And the thing is like, you know, every contrast paint, I'm just going to give it a heads up, is super different. Like, none of them act the same. And this one is very thin, so you can actually take it just right out of the pot, just boop, and it just makes flesh look awesome. I don't recommend doing that for all of them, for sure, but certainly for this one specifically, it's really good. One of my biggest gripes with AOS is how much it leans on Warhammer Fantasy. I understand need to borrow things, but the narrative model-wise, you know, honestly, I'll agree with you. I don't really like what we call callbacks, I guess. I'm not the biggest fan of them. Like, even Techless. I mean, those kinds of things, like pulling out heroes, and I don't mind like nods, kind of like having like the you know, the Chalice of Ushurin or whatever like that for the Fleshier Courts, where it's kind of like a wink, you know. But like I wasn't excited when Gotrek came back. I was like, okay, ambivalent, which, you know, not everyone was super happy with me on that one. I don't know. There's this weird thing where I'm expected to be excited about every single thing, but no, it just wasn't my jam. And I was like, you know, I just want it to be its own thing. I would honestly would have much rather preferred like a cool series on what's up with Vandus Hammerhand or Korgus Cole than Gotrek. And that's just a personal thing. It is what it is. Omniphage, you are correct. Shyish Purple is so purple it fundamental. 100%. Let's see. I kind of feel that way about Nazdreg Yellow. Because when I hear contrast yellow, I think it's going to be like Magos Purple, where it's like, oh, it's going to tint something yellow. But this is like, no boy, it dummy thick yellow. Like, whatever touches this brush is going to be straight up yellow. It'll get some paint on your grandma's hands. It's so yellow. Like, it's just crazy. Flesh Terrier's red. Michael, yeah, exactly. I don't do much for these heads on the back here because I don't want them to steal attention, so I'll just throw a little bit. Let's see. Have you tried NASDAQ yellow over silver? I have, yes. It's very cool. I used it for, so I did some Infinity models. I did the USA Ariadne set. And they have a girl riding a motorcycle, and so I did that for the headlights, and it looks really nice. My favorite brass is Gore Grunta over silver. I will have to try that. That's the thing. I think, I don't know. I feel like the real secret to contrast took so long to understand. One sec. Got some flesh colors. Just because, yeah, it took a while to understand because we were all struggling to like, well, you say it has to go over these primers, but it looks so much better over some of these other random colors. Let's see. How do you do the bloatfly's flesh? Oh, that purple there? It is Magos purple, the one I've been raving about. But really, really thinned out with some of the contrast medium. And then you just wash. I'm going to use the word liberally, but the use of that word is not liberal enough to describe what I did. I just like darn near dunked them in the stuff. You can go crazy because it's so thin, and then you've thinned it out on top of that. Yeah, there's really no pooling, nothing like that. It catches all of the little subtle, like, because on these things specifically, if you want to do these specific models with that, on the back end here, there's like divots that aren't deep enough to like, edge highlight. And normally that kind of stuff you dry brush because that would catch them, but it doesn't. I don't want to do that. And so it's deep enough to like go into those little divots that are very subtle and mark them out, but do it very easily and simply and quickly. Let's see. I use them as filters. Yeah, I mean they're not magic. Mogwai Man just pointed out it's just ink and some, but honestly, that's all paint is. None of it's magic. I just happen to like the consistency and formula of some of them. Some of them not so much. Like Guilliman Flesh is my favorite one, honestly. It's a really fantastic wash for metals. And man, if you want to paint white people, it's privilege in a jar. You can't beat it. If you want to do, like, my preferred way of doing dark skin, like black, is Cygor Brown that's been thinned out, but you'll never see me paint something with just Cygor Brown. It's too dark. You lose everything. You might as well just paint it with Dryad Bark kind of thing with no highlights. Sorry, I bumped the mic there. I have Ogre Mawtribe's army, and I'm afraid to start painting the Mournfang. Okay, that's the cavalry ones. And the Stonehorn. I don't just want to plop brown on it and call it a day. I want to spruce it up a bit. Let me ask you this, Clancy. Do you want to do like the traditional painting method with like the layers and the wash and the highlight? Or were you looking to do contrast, something really quick? So we'll start there. I don't like how every contrast is so different from the others. You have to experiment. Yeah, it just is what it is. I understand not liking that. I think it's certainly not what they kind of advertised it as, and I think that was a flop. But I like the product, so... And so to show off what I'm doing here, so I told you before that if you do Magos purple over skin, it looks fantastic. Well, now I'm doing a second layer, but I'm only going half as far up. So it'll form its own little natural gradient here, because I want this end of this tentacle, I want it to look very pained because it's so unnatural, right? That's the idea, is that this shouldn't be here, so it should look like it hurts. Because the more it hurts, the more it shows you really care. Right? But yes, every contrast does act very, very different, and you should absolutely experiment before settling on anything. That's the thing I did. I think I did a bunch of Nurgling tests, you know, and you can achieve the same effect that I did here on these guys' skin. It's kind of so subtle, this camera's not even really picking up the purple. It is quite purple. But you can do the same thing with like Druchii Violet. Would be no different. So now we're just painting the shrooms that are bursting out of these dudes' shoulders. I think there was 2 of them. Yeah, there are. Nope, not him. Oh, okay. That was crazy. It is just that one guy. Omniphage, I think you're right. Yeah. For me, the reason I was even interested in contrast at first was for painting all the things that I hate painting. I don't like painting skin. I don't like painting, like, the stuff that you saw me do today would have taken forever because I hate painting the stupid little straps on this guy. I just grabbed some wildwood and just quick one line, boom, done. Looks great. That kind of stuff. Where is my green? Yeah, there we go. That kind of stuff I think is really what it adds value-wise to me. Specifically, of just like, I don't want to do this. I want to get to the fun parts, like the armor and the monsters and that kind of thing. So yes, well, it's not a good tool for every job, for sure. It is a great thing. It's a good little way, you know, what's the thing you hate painting the most? There's probably a contrast way to speed through that so you can get back to the stuff that you like. Yeah, there's value in that, you know. Druchii Violet's such a weird shade. It pops up where you wouldn't expect it a bunch. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Or mixed into things that you wouldn't expect. You're like, I didn't even see any purple in there, but you notice it when it's missing, kind of thing. Like, huh. Yeah, I could use contrast. I looked in the Mawtribe's Battle Tome for tips, but most said prime white. I used black, and that's a big oopsie. Okay. Priming black. Well, dry brushing up from that black would be super easy if you're looking for something quick and dirty. Because you can dry brush up with grays or browns. It would do really well. And just add lighter and lighter tones of those same colors up and up and up. Started my Nurgle army before I knew of your Deluge series, and I chose to kind of do a deep sea horror theme vibe. So your videos have been good inspiration. Oh, thank you. I hope they still are. I'm kind of I didn't really move away from that theme. All the bases are still themed that way, but I kind of gave myself a pass on customizing every single model. I was like, I'm getting a little burnt out. Need to move this project along a bit. Sorry for the quiet. I'm just trying to get these little tiny details here. Did a fun thing over on Instagram today. I found out you can do like Q&A type stuff where I pose a question to the world, like, you know, and so my one today was like, just ask me a question, and people were able to respond. So I've been doing little video answerings, that kind of stuff, Q&As over on. I'll probably pick it back up tomorrow because it's getting a little late. And what else do I need? Amigos purple again. Forgot the scars on this guy's belly. How competitive are you, Mogwai? Torn between Cities of Sigmar and Beasts of Chaos. I mean, knowing that you own Bone Splitters, tells me I feel like you should try Cities of Sigmar. I feel like it's very different. I don't know. That's up to you. Off-topic question. I have been looking into Warcry for how short the games seem. Is it worth getting into? I don't have time for full AOS games anymore. I like it. I really do enjoy it. I think the biggest thing is that some folks just kind of treat it like a, how do I say this, like a second tier game, more like a board game type thing, whereas like you know, oh, we'll do this, you know, in between campaigns, where it's like, well, some people just like playing Warcry, you know, they just like the game of Warcry. And so I don't know, I have struggled to get interest in stuff. So if you have a group that is interested in playing it and you'll have reliable games, absolutely. Other great games that can be fairly quick, Kill Team, you can do 40k in 40 minutes. That's their promise, and it can deliver once you learn the rules. Warcry is certainly good. A lot of the models cross over. Yeah, I'd say just ask around and see if you can get some reliable games in. And if yes, jump in, both feet. Because honestly, I'm kind of in the same boat. I haven't played full AOS in some time, but I have been playing Infinity, Necromunda, Warcry, a lot of those skirmish style games, that kind of thing. Let's die. How do you pronounce that? Doug, it's been great seeing you get into a wider range of games. Do you think you'd get into more generic war games that have no associated model line? Can you give me a few suggestions? Like, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I don't, I just love painting, you know? And so, like, it just depends. You know, I'm not opposed to it. I don't know of them, to be perfectly honest with you. A lot of those game companies, you know, I think one thing that the gaming industry hasn't quite caught up on is the idea of, like, marketing is everything, right? Attention is everything. And so, I don't know, man. It's just, there's so many good games out there that no one's ever freaking heard of because they don't publish themselves. Like, one of them, and they do have their own model line, so it doesn't really answer your question, but is Deep Wars, which my friend Greg, who, he's Cranky Old War Gamer, I believe is his channel. If you just look up Deep Wars, he has all the battle reports. It's a super rad looking game that is colorful and vibrant. There's cool factions and amazing models. Never heard of it. You'll never hear of it because the company doesn't advertise. So it's like, well, okay, why are you guys doing this then? If you ain't gonna, like, promote it. Sorry, meaning the company. Why is the company bothering to make the game if they don't feel excited enough to promote it, is what I meant. Let's see. So yeah, give me some suggestions. What are some games that don't have associated model lines? And let's chat about them. Have a good night, Clancy. Bone Splitters took 10th at LVO. Yeah, they're in a good place. Question, you like narrative games more than competitive games. Have you ever tried Frostgrave? I have not. I have heard of it. I don't fully know what it is, to be honest with you. But it's, tell me about it. Sell me on Frostgrave and I'll play it. Let's see, what else do I need? You guys gotta wash all the weapons with my dark wash, and then we'll start tackling these dudes individually. There's always that point where like little subtle differences in models gets to a point where it's like, okay, we can't batch paint these anymore. We got to go one by one and look for errors and nitpick that kind of stuff. So let's see. Painting some Namarti Reavers and Thralls at the same time, and man, they have lots of little details. Yes. Yeah, I painted, where did I paint? I painted a couple Namarti Thralls. And I was like, oh, this faction requires an immense amount of work, and I pretty much immediately got rid of my Deepkin. For the record, I think Avalorn Sunset with Militarum Green looks sufficiently gross. I'm going to put a layer of Nurgle's Rot on top of that, and I think it will really come together. I'll take pictures for everybody. So let's do that on the second one too. I forgot I did two. Okay, so folks are filling up the chat with games that don't require model lines. Give me just a half second to finish this guy, and I will take a look at him. At your suggestions, I mean. Okay, we got Frostgrave. Okay, they don't have I thought they had models. Did they have model line associated with their game? Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so we got Frostgrave, Gaslands. I've got models, but it's got models, but Badgers Burrows pretty awesome. Badgers and Burrows. Is that like literally like groundhogs versus badgers? Badgers and Burrows. The Skirmish miniature game of anthropomorphic animals. This is hilarious. I like it. That is so stinking funny. Okay. You have my attention. Zombicide. They make their own things. You can buy it as a big box, I think. Osprey's Dragon Rampant is fantastic fantasy game with whatever models you like. Also, Song of Blades and Heroes from Yanisha Games. Two of my favorite generic fantasy games. Okay. Cool. It's model agnostic. You can play after buying a $16 book. Just need 10 models on 25-ish mil basis. Okay. Right on. Zone Raiders. Let's check those. Zone Raiders. Deadly Skirmishes of the Post-Singularity. Oh, that's like a... Oh, that's a super new one. Because their Kickstarter just ended not too long ago, like relatively speaking. Cool. We got a PDF rulebook. I dig it. Chris, I found about Badgers and Burrows from Blackjack Legacy. You should check out his channel. Oh, I'm a subscriber. Yeah, he's a cool dude. I'm in his chat when I can be. I think I missed the last like 2 or 3 live streams, and yeah, Live streams are hard because it's just like so many times I just want to respond to something, but I can't if I'm watching it late. So who knows? Anyway, those are cool games. I will check them out. I feel like for some of those games, the hardest thing is just you finding opponents. You know, people who are willing to be like, okay, yes, let us play this game. But we'll see. I don't know. Maybe it won't be that hard. I got friends like Mark and Greg. They all play weird off-the-wall games. Actually, Shu from Really Ones, he just collects random models and says he's going to play all these games, but never does. Dude's been sitting on a Kill Team Goldmine for forever. Gasland uses Hot Wheels cars. I think I've seen that one at a store, yeah. Star Wars Legion was also suggested to me, although I'm slightly hesitant about jumping into that one. But, yeah. I've heard some pretty decidedly mixed things about it. If you like Star Wars Legion, let me know. But yeah, no, I'm not, I don't get any monetary benefit from people buying Games Workshop models because they watch this stuff, so I am not tied to games that have a model component. Modeling to me is kind of one of the bigger pillars of the hobby for just my own personal like relaxation and mental health and that kind of stuff. And so that's the stuff I search for. It's the things that I'm drawn to. But I'm also not opposed to like, well, I've painted these awesome models. I might as well get more ways to use them, meaning, games that are model agnostic, I think was the term someone threw out there. Would be a good idea. On Face, have a good night. Got my eye on Elder Scrolls minis. I have not heard about this. Okay, stop the press. Tell me about Elder Scrolls stuff. Also, is Frostgrave like a more user-friendly version of Mordheim? If y'all don't know, I lost an embarrassing amount of my high school years to Morrowind. Was it high school? Yeah, it was freshman year of high school when I really dug into it. I was a little late to the party. King Bread, what game has a PvE element? I'm curious. That seems interesting. Reality's Edge is a good game that works well with Infinity models. Be closer to Warcry. Okay, thank you. Frostgrave has PvE elements. Okay. See, that intrigues me. Blackstone Fortress can be played solo. Yeah, I know it can, but because it doesn't... Part of the thing that I like about miniatures games is like the three-dimensional board space. And it doesn't have that, which is not a deal breaker. If I had a group of friends and they were like, pull up in a van or like, get in, loser, we're playing Blackstone Fortress. I'm like, okay, cool. And I would just get in the van. But it's not something that I would like actively go out of my way for. That's my standard for everything. You know, I'm kind of interested in slightly if a van full of people would pull up and be like, "We're doing blank," and then I would just get in. How easy am I to kidnap? That's the metric for interest. Elder Scrolls game is being done by Mophidius Games. Okay, I like them. They do the Infinity RPG. Hard plastic kits for Imperial, Stormcloaks, and Draugr. Okay. Skirmish game with campaign play and solo play options. Man, that sounds interesting. So it seems like it's set in the Skyrim era, which is good because, you know, tabletop is the last platform to not have Skyrim on it. Rangers of Shadowdeep has PvE. Okay. I like the PvE stuff because, you know, I don't know. You can tell stories without, I don't know, needing a specific opponent. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say there, but I like it. I like that the option's there, you know? That's very interesting about Elder Scrolls. That intrigues me. I was kind of, I mean, just some random part of me was really hoping it was going to be like a Morrowind version, but Skyrim makes way more sense. Okay, I think at this point we got to start going model by model. Okay. Would you ever consider making lore videos on homebrew lore and factions? Yes, I am. Well, I have, and I am. This last month, I had a lore contest, which is now closed, but I'm probably going to do it again at some point. And I've just started reading through some of the entries, but basically the top 5 I'm going to turn into lore videos, and then the winner gets a prize. So, like I said, I'm going to be doing it again to see how it goes. You know, with all the voting from the patrons and that kind of thing. We'll see how it all pans out. But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, the real determining factor to if I ever do it again is how chill is everyone. Like, if I get people who are like, actually, I should have won because blah, 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 or can you explain to me why I didn't win? It's like, nope. No. I'm not explaining myself at all. Just doing this to have some fun and get some cool stories. Let's see. I think minis for Skyrim races would be better than previous games. Looking at you, Oblivion, Khajiit. Okay, but like, does anyone here like Oblivion over Morrowind or Skyrim? I was head over heels with Morrowind. Oblivion, I was like, I was just very on the fence. I don't feel like they designed magic well because, like, I tend to play magic characters, and I tore through that story arc like a madman. So yeah, I haven't heard anyone say like Oblivion's my favorite. I've heard people, you know, like it, dislike it, that kind of stuff, but just never anyone who's like, that was the best of their games. Plus, my copy bugged out on me quite a bit. Kind of prefer Oblivion to Skyrim, but that's largely nostalgia. Yeah, I will say that Oblivion did some cool, like the side quests were killer in Oblivion. Like just straight, the one where you get sucked into a painting. You're in somebody's dreams. Like they just used. I feel like they just used creative thinking more when it came to like the quests and the. I also really don't care for the trend in gaming, RPG gaming specifically, where It doesn't matter how you build your character because you can just start doing something else. So, for example, like in Skyrim, say you've played the entire game thus far as like an archer guy, like a stealth archer. You can at any time just pick up a sword and just start getting better at that, and that's cool. I mean, it is. It's super cool that you can do that. The problem is, what it takes away is from that role playing element, where it's like, no, I have my mage character, I have my barbarian character, that kind of thing. Whereas like the other games, leveling up was directly tied to you mastering specific skills, which meant that made them very important and locked you kind of into those play styles. I thought that was really cool because, you know, you're choosing, this is what I want to be. The trade-off being like your first character is usually an absolute dunce because you didn't know what skills you would want to advance in before you started, kind of thing. Well, I get it. That is actually a pretty big trade-off when it comes to user experience, and if you're trying to get new gamers in to try it, or that you do something like they do in Outer Worlds, which I also really enjoy. Outer Worlds quite a bit, where you can build your dude into a specific thing, but at any time in the game, there's a computer in your ship where you walk up to it and you can basically reset your character. All the skill points get added back and all your perks, all kind of stuff, and you can just build a new one from there. And that's, I think, a better median than Skyrim because it still incentivizes you to lean heavily into something, and it does get more expensive to do. Like, you have to pay actual money to do that, so it does get more expensive to do. But that's honestly the only like disincentivizing aspect of it. Let's see. Like Oblivion, the Assassin's Cult. Yeah, that's what I mean. The side things were outstanding. Let's see. Is the Nurgle stuff you're painting currently 3-foot gorgeous or above tabletop standard? I mean, that's in the eye of the beholder. I think it's a little bit above it. You know, the custom bases that I did, the turbo shift paints, I like to think it's a little bit above, but I know it depends because everyone has different definition. Because like, is tabletop standard the same thing as 3-color minimum? And I don't, you know, because 3-color minimum doesn't necessarily need like washes or anything like that. Like, I like to think it's a little bit above it, but I'm also not confident in my painting skills enough to be like, this is amazing, you know, that kind of thing. So I describe everything as 3-foot fabulous. And then I let people tell me that it's amazing, and I go, no. And then secretly in my head I go, yes. Let's see. King Brad, Morrowind lost me when I figured out you can max skills right off the boat. Well, then don't do that. This narrative-based role-playing game lost me when I figured out I could game it. Don't game it. My thing that I liked about Morrowind was that, like, you learn a lot. Like, if you really want to understand like the world, it incentivizes you. Like, oh, go read books. I've never read a book in Skyrim that wasn't like part of a quest marker, but in Morrowind, I was like, okay, I want to understand what's happening, right? More because I feel like Skyrim kind of spoon-fed me the plot in terms of like, the dragon from the past, and they shot him forward in time, and now it's your problem, and then you eat him in heaven, kind of thing. They really do kind of like just spell it out for you, which is awesome. You know, again, as someone pointed out, really appeal to the casual gamer, which is great. But I would have liked like, I don't know. I like games where it's like, you figure it out. You want to know this story? You figure it out. Go read a book. I also like the alien nature of Morrowind, where just like the flora and the fauna, it was all super different. Whereas like Oblivion is very traditional fantasy, and Skyrim is just like Nordic, which is cool. It's all cool, but like everything was just so much more alien in Morrowind, to the point where like what got me to re-download Skyrim was the what's it called? Solstheim expansion they did, where you could go to Raven Rock, which is one of the things that you could a settlement that was kind of tied to Morrowind. Like, oh man, it was based. Okay, sorry. The Argonian and Khajiit models always made me laugh in Oblivion. You know what made me laugh in Oblivion? It was like, you see a guy's head, okay? It's like this big, and the face is like scrunched up, and it just makes them look like they got stung by 1,000 bees before they started talking to you. That, it always got me. And that could happen to any race. It was just this weird quirk, I guess, of technology making them look so derpy. Okay. Sporadicus. An Elder Scrolls style game is developed in AOS's setting. What realm do you want it to take place in? Ooh, that's a good one. That'd be a great format. What realm? Personally, metal. I would want it to be Shaman. And the reason I say that is because I think that the environment would look very cool. I don't want actually, because I don't want to deal with like fire and volcanoes all the time, which is kind of, I mean, I know it has everything in there, but it's kind of the typical thing, lots of ash and red themed stuff. And there's a lot of games that already lean into the dark, dreary colors and ash. But when you get to like metallics and how Tzeentch can warp things to be like weird color combinations that bend the mind and all that kind of stuff, that super intrigues me. So yeah, I think Tzeentch would be a fantastic one because you're seeing magic happen like in a big, big way. You got transmuting stuff is a big theme. I just think that's all sounds so cool. Metal without question. Yeah, I got King Bread on my side. Unstoppable now. I'm trying to think of other ones. Other ones that would be really interesting looking. Haste would be interesting because everything's like a geometric shape. It might get old after a while, but it would look interesting at first. If it was more of a survival-ish type thing, Shadows would be legit. I mean, when I say survival-ish, think like Far Harbor from Fallout 4 kind of expansion, where it's meant to be very dark and dreary and kind of a mystery plot that you're on. I think that would be really cool. I'm going to call him done, I think. Gur would be awesome. It would be, I think, when I think of Gur, I think much more of like player versus environment type thing, which is super legit. And not a bad way at all. Actually, I'm going to let him dry because that banner needs to dry. The moon of liquid mercury and all the geography being made metal crystal. Yeah. Yeah, I really do think metal has a lot of, just because when you think about like the game as a format, I just think it would have so much more interesting things going on. Like in terms of like visually what you're experiencing and working with, and the idea of like, oh, this river of, molten silver, which was in the Rumgate Wars, if I use like freezing magic on it, I can like cross it in small increments, and you can, you just kind of play around with the physics of things like that. I think that sounds really intriguing. What if you could melt and freeze things at will, given enough power and that kind of stuff? It would be really neat. Fast travel and carriage and Overlord Zeppelin. Okay, I'm going to say it. In my perfect miniatures game, there is no fast travel. I actively liked in now that I've played games with fast travel, I really like that Morrowind doesn't have it. Because it made it feel so important when you were like, okay, I'm at my little apartment from a shopkeeper that I killed and totally took over his house. And I'm packing up everything I need to go on this adventure. You know, I think that would be legit. I know not everybody would agree with that. That's how it be. Trying to think of the game styles, like, you know, King Brett said a Fable style like game in Gur. I've only played the first Fable. I would definitely be down for that. Jay, hey, what's up, man? What else? What other games? I mean, like something like Monster Hunter Tri would be super fun in Gur. These little kind of almost like ramshackle outposts of civilization, where you can kind of refill and resupply and be like, okay, we got to get back out there. Got to go hunting, yo. What else? What else would be a good game? Never played any of the Dark Souls, nothing like that. What are we doing, Doug? We're just finishing up some Puscoil Blight Lords. And I might come back and do more details to them later, but honestly, like, they look really good and I got some more stuff to paint. Bring back Vermintide, but set it in an Idoneth place? You mean like a place that's being besieged by Idoneth Deepkin stealing souls and stuff? Let's see, what else? And I'm like being in an enclave invaded by Scan. Oh, like you are the Idoneth. Okay. That's why I was very confused. I was like, I mean, it'd be cool, but I think the whole thing is they like put people to sleep. Our local game store is doing a narrative campaign based in Gur. That's awesome. I want more stuff to happen in Gur. It is my favorite realm. Like, you're asking me like what video game would be the best. I think visually, in terms of like the physics within a game, Metal is the winner. But I do think, in terms of like concept, Gur is my favorite realm. Not by like the world's biggest margin, but yeah. Actually, let's see here. Court of the Blind King was fantastic. Awesome. Haven't not read it yet, but I'll get around to it eventually. Honestly, I'm kind of opening myself up to other miniatures games, and man, I forgot how to word this. I love, even though I forgot, how hard it can be to like learn some of these universes. You know, I think it's been good for me to like be a new guy again, you know, like having to go to forums and stuff like that and be like, okay, so like how does this relate to this? What's the general story? It's been good for me. Like, kind of got my brain firing on cylinders again, and I might come back to doing like AOS videos. I'm like, oh, this is how new people think about this, that kind of thing. Okay, almost got him. I think it's a good mix. You know, I didn't hit every single detail in these dudes, but they look visually distinct from the other 4 I did, so as I mix and match them, I think they will look really good. Let's see, we're gonna get that done. And yeah, so tomorrow morning is my first video about Infinity goes up. I'm excited about that. It's funny, like, no one's really talked to me about it until these last 2 weeks when I personally was getting an interest in the game. And then, like, my feed just kind of blew up, like, hey, are you ever gonna do Infinity lore? Hey, are you ever gonna do that? You know, and that kind of stuff. And it was just this weird coincidence where I'm like, oh, this feels good. People seem excited about stuff that I'm excited about. I'm like, oh yeah. So that's exciting for me. I'm always nervous whenever I do something new. You know, I mean, there is just always that fear of rejection where it's just like, I think this thing is cool, and people would be like, it's not cool, shut up. And then I've had many people tell me, like, I don't really care what you talk about. I just like your voice, I like your face, whatever, you know, that kind of stuff. He's like, oh. Is Grugny still helping Sigmar, or is he the next army after Teclis? So we know he helped him in the development of the Stormcast. My understanding is that he's become sort of a recluse and is not necessarily super active in the Pantheon right now. I think he's doing his own thing. So it would not, I can't guarantee anything, but it would not surprise me if he did his own jam. At that one day he said, screw you for doing 40k lore. Yep. Well, you know, here's the thing is that one was so over the top that my brain's like, I never wanted that guy to be a fan of mine anyway. I don't want to attract personalities like that. So I was okay with it. But if it's the people who just, like, you know, I see in the comments a lot who just say stuff like, this is crap, you know, his reaction was so ridiculous that my brain was like, we don't need to care about this. But if it's someone that I do value, or a lot of people being like, this is dumb, I don't know, it's different. It feels different. Cogcast Eternals? No, he helped. He made the Anvil of Apotheosis. He was instrumental in making the Stormcast Eternals, but not so much in anything necessarily going forward. Good evening, Cold Shoulder. TG Disciple, as long as I can hear. Yep. I didn't, you know, honestly, in my entire life, no one has ever complimented me specifically on my voice. And it's so funny that like since doing this channel, I've had so many people, like there was that oh my gosh, where was that? Nova. I was at Nova, and some guy looks at me and goes, dude, my girlfriend listens to you every night. I was like thinking it was like a lore video. Yeah, she was like a lore fan of Age of Sigmar. I was like, oh, okay, where is she? You know, I can go like just say hi, whatever. It's like, oh no, she's not here. She doesn't play Age of Sigmar. She don't care about this stuff. But apparently, like, she overheard my videos via her significant other, listening to them because he did like Age of Sigmar, to the point where like she would ask him to play it out loud because apparently I was like an ASMR to her. Like I was just like this relaxing voice that helped her fall asleep. So I thought that was super funny. Did you catch the AOS Narrative Siege this year? Yeah, I popped in and saw it, and it looked amazing. I didn't get a chance to play in it. I was kind of all over the place for Nova. I think I learned my lesson. Next year I'm going to reel it in with some of the events and just leave time to just go hang out with people. Or be much more selective in my events. How they look any different from KO? Well, so KO is an extension of like technology they were already developing when Chaos busted out. But I would like to see what Grugni had to do, because there are mentions in the lore of like a race of cog people, meaning like Mechanica, right? Or automata, living automata. So like that'd be really, really cool. You show me Cogmen, GW, and I will show you my wallet. Doug's next video, ASMR. Honestly, so I didn't know what ASMR was until I don't know, maybe like a year ago, something like that. And I gotta be honest with you, most of it creeps me out. Because if you were to tell me, like, I like listening to somebody talk to me as I fall asleep, I'm down with that. My wife actually, for a little while, listened to a podcast called Sleep With Me, which I think is the best name ever. And it was just a guy rambling, but he just had a very calming voice. And he would talk at a normal volume, and you would just adjust your phone to whatever volume is more comfortable. You know, or he like read the newspaper or just do something mundane just to have, you know, ASMR, audio-visual stuff. But what creeps me out is like the hyper soft like whispering. I don't know. It puts me on edge. I don't know what it is about it, where someone's like, and now we're going to move. And you can like hear their lips smack and everything like that. You're like, ugh, I don't like it. Creepy as hell. You got something to say? Say it. Say it like a man. So. Doug switches to Twitch and just starts reading ingredients on food. Yes, exactly. I'll lean in real close and let me get here set up. I'm now going to read my paint list. I own Contrast, Skeleton Horde. I own Apothecary White. I like that one. It's a fun color. Contrast, Fire Slayer Flesh. Contrast, Blood Angels Red. Trademarked. So that's my ASMR. Hope you all enjoyed it. You were there at the beginning and the end. Doug ASMR fanfics. God, I hate that. Yes, exactly. Isn't it the worst? I hate it because you can hear the lip smacking and you're like, bro, get some water. Plus, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just a personality thing. For me, like a relaxing voice to me is a deep one that has like James Earl Jones is a relaxing voice, right? Or that's not a good example. I don't know. Just those kind of warm, full voices that are just like, oh, this is just hear you talk all day, that kind of stuff. Read a phone book to me. But the whole whispering thing, because it's like it fires my brain to be like, okay, I want to hear what they're trying to say. Whereas opposed to like that podcast I was talking about my wife listens to, where he's just talking about nothing. You know what I mean? So you don't have to pay attention, but he's doing so in a way that kind of drolls you out, and it's perfect. But yeah, the whole whispering thing just creeps me out. I'd more like to see if you can make it through any. What about some sort of lycanthropic army to add to death? That'd be cool. Werewolves. Did Games Workshop ever make a werewolf type thing? I mean, I guess I wasn't around during Fantasy Battles. I don't know if they pruned anything like that. Twitch always recommends me e-thoughts during ASMR when all it really is some girl in a low-cut halter top playing DDR. That's so funny. Skin wolves. Oh, yeah. Wolfen in 40k. How do you guys get to the cracks in the armor? Yeah, a little hard to explain. I'm not sure I follow. What I do when I'm painting is I always start with the deepest part inward and then work my way out. So like, let's say I was doing the crevices deep behind this guy's boot. I would paint that first. And then the last thing I do is whatever is most outward, which is, of course, the cloth on top of the boot kind of thing. So that way you can be messy and you can kind of clean things up as you work outward. That would be my advice to you. Frontier Press says, yeah, Ouroboros. Wolves, yeah. Don't mean to seem so here, but how does anyone in this forum run Grand Alliance armies? You're asking how they do or if they do? Like, I do Grand Alliance stuff every once in a while, especially for new folks who don't need to learn or be burdened by allegiance abilities and that kind of stuff. They're very useful. I don't know if they're good, but they're useful for teaching and that kind of stuff. Okay. Oh, can you use current war scrolls? Yes, you can. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were asking like literally how you do it. Yeah, you just use current war scrolls. The only thing you're doing is using things that have battle line with no qualifiers. So like I can't say battle line if allegiance Nurgle, like these guys are. That kind of thing. You have to, it just says battle line, so that's awesome. And you just stick to your Grand Alliance. So yeah, if you're playing a 2,000 point game, assuming you want to use points, you don't have to. You would be 2,000 points. Was it 1 or 2 heroes and 3 battle line choices, but the rest you just do whatever you want. And there are in the core rulebook, if you want to use them, there are allegiance abilities and command abilities for each Grand Alliance that they're pretty neutral, like they're pretty simple, straightforward, that you can use. So yeah, it's certainly the easiest way. Yeah. Just ignore the faction allegiance keywords. Makes sense. What about marks of chaos? They matter. So like, let's say you're doing Slaves to Darkness, right? You can mark your guys as Nurgle. For army building purposes, it won't matter because the only thing that matters keyword wise for army building in a Grand Alliance is chaos, which they all have. The reason that marks of chaos are useful, though, when you set them up on the table, is some of the heroes will say, if you target a Nurgle unit, you get this bonus. And that still applies even if you're playing a Grand Alliance army. So think about that. So, army construction-wise, it greatly simplifies the game, and it cuts out a lot of the rules in terms of how you have to learn in terms of allegiance abilities. But when it comes to individual spell effects and stuff like that, or stuff written on the war scroll, it'll still have keywords there. Those still matter, but only for like those specific abilities, and that's a very case-by-case basis. Anyway. Let's see, what is it? It's 7:30 almost. Friends, I'm going to hop off here. I'm just about done with these guys. I'm just waiting for some stuff to dry. He is donezo to the extent that we are painting things now. And these guys are looking pretty good too. So I think I'm going to call it there. Maybe do some touch-ups later on. But anyway, thank you all so much for hanging out with me while I was getting a little painting done. I'm very excited. If you wouldn't mind, something that would be really, really helpful for me, and would mean a lot to me, is if you are into Infinity at all, tomorrow's going to be my first lore video. If you could comment on it and just tell me how I can improve, or if you're really into it, share it with Infinity groups and Facebook pages, that kind of stuff, to kind of help get the word out there. I don't like to blast other things with my content, so if it could be shared organically, I would really appreciate it. Anyway, thank you all so much, friends. You guys are awesome, and I look forward to seeing you in my next hobby hangout, which will be on Friday, early afternoon, probably around 11 or so. So catch folks in the UK and in Europe and that kind of stuff. So thank you all so much, and happy wargaming.